Welcome once again to Moving Forward. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, in St. Lucia and in the diaspora, welcome. It is a good to be here, as always, and I welcome you from all the parties in this country of ours. However, before I begin tonight, I want to say a prayer out of the ordinary, especially to those who believe that they can hinder my bringing out the truth and the light. And I begin sincerely by praising the One Most High for the encouragement He has given me, regardless of those who seem to be walking in the devil's footsteps in their miserable manner. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me on the path of righteousness for His name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for Thou art with me, Lord. Thy rod and staff will comfort me. Surely goodness and glory shall follow me all the days of my life, and I'll dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So, blessings to all of you tonight. And I hope that some of you would say that psalm with me, because I'm sure many of you know it. Blessed. As we prepare to start putting into place the budget of 2024-25, we are beginning to see those who are prepared to complain, regardless what. This is a government who is making a concerted effort to help the poorly paid workers in our society, who have sweated as poorly paid workers for so many years through colonialism that had supposed to have had a conscience, and now neo-colonialism. This government saw it necessary to bring our workers out of the darkness and into the light. And yet we are hearing the prophets of doom and gloom opening up their foul mouths to the extent that some are saying, is that the minimum wage? $6.50 an hour? Not realizing that there are those who are at present working at $4.50, $5 an hour. What these nincompoops fail to comprehend is that we have to start somewhere. And as things progress, discussions will be held by those who know best in making recommendations to lift that which is at present. In truth and in fact, that must be continually looked at before the next budget. What must always be inculcated in the minds of our people, whether young or old, is that Rome was not built in a day. What some in this society fail to realize or come to grips with is that Philip is bringing to the fore what Aristotle would claim as the good society, where the art of government lay in arousing the popular sentiment so that citizens sympathize with those that seek to lead them, admire their happy situation, enter into it with pleasure and endeavor to promote it. The important question I continually now ask myself is simply this: what does the future hold under Philip Joseph Pierre's government? I honestly believe that although there is a lot to be done because of the mess that was left behind, that we will be gathering or getting there somehow. I am not saying that the government before Allen was perfect, and something never materialized. But under Allen, what we saw was an urgency to destroy and to show a form of authoritarianism that was without a doubt unseen in this country. Not only that, but only few were favored by that government. That is definitely not so with Philip, who is a man of the people, is there for the people, and will always be with the people. There's no doubt in my mind that Philip is without a doubt the champion of democracy and humanity. And we can go on to say tolerance and compassion. Therefore, he realizes that there is no credible alternative, and nor should there be at this present juncture. What I've seen in dealing with matters of state with Philip, where Philip is concerned, is about regaining the common good, and therefore he's concerned of forging a common understanding, and for this there must be an active and necessarily transparent process of dialogue. There must be an accommodation of interests, not just between party members, but between all the people, the St. Lucian people, whether here or in the diaspora. Because for success to take place, there must be a consensus, not just one of party. In putting this forward, I'm trying to be succinct because during the 5 years of the last government, there lacked any ethos. It also lacked imagination and also lacked a generosity which lacked the ability to see beyond the horizon for its own particular interests, be they partisan or otherwise, and to resist pressure from various groups, i.e. family, friends, and foreigners. I put all this forward because I don't want St. Lucians to forget, because over the years we seem to forget when it suits us, as if we like pain and suffering, because that is what we went through during 2016 and 2021. The suffering for some is over. And I'm sure that this Prime Minister will do its best to put St. Lucia back on an even footing. And this is happening without a doubt. So tonight, before I continue, let us pray to the One Most High, because He's with us, without a doubt. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Oh, Father, we come to you, and once again, to thank you and to glorify you for giving us Philip Joseph Pierre as our Prime Minister. We are grateful for you, your kind consideration, and as always, you will have a place in our hearts, because without a doubt, you are a good God, worthy of abundant praise. Therefore, we thank you, we praise you, and without a doubt, put our faith and trust in you, through thick and thin, good or bad, because in the end, it will always turn out right, because you are without a doubt the Prince of Peace, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Amen. Tonight I quote from the Bible, the Wisdom of Solomon, chapters 11-12. You can show your great power anytime you wish, and no one can stand up against it. In your sight, the whole world is a grain of sand, barely heavy enough to tip a pair of scales, a drop of dew on the ground in the morning. You are powerful enough to do anything, but you are merciful to everyone. You overlook our sins and have us, or give us time to repent. You love everything that you have made. If you had not liked it, you would not have made it in the first place. How could anything last if you did not want it to? How could it endure if you had not created it? You have allowed it all to exist, O Lord, because it is yours. And you love every living thing. Your immortal spirit is in every one of them. And so you gently correct those who sin against you. You remind them of what they are doing and warn them about it, so that they may abandon their evil ways and put their trust in you, Lord. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. In St. Lucia, we are presently at ease with the pace of things, because gradually we are getting back on track, and the light is at the end of the tunnel. That light which was dark is beginning to shine brightly, because faith has returned to this island under the leadership of Philip Joseph Pierre and the unity government. People are beginning to feel good within themselves because they have faith in Philip. Unless you are an ardent supporter of the United Records of the Poor, when I look back and think of democracy, more so under Philip, what comes to mind is something I read in Justice, Humanity, and the New World Order, where it says succinctly that the greatest quality of narrative democracy and restorative justice is this particular ability to reinvest individuals' dignity. And that is what we are seeing under Philip Joseph Pierre. Smith and Kant recognized that dignity, that it comes from knowing that people are prepared to regard you and to listen to you. This is especially good news, and the Prime Minister tries and to say it as it is, because he's an honest man, unlike what we have had before, as has been alleged by many. The late Desmond Tutu of South Africa observed that our humanity is caught up in that of all others. We are human because we belong. We are made for community, for togetherness, for family, to exist in a delicate network of interdependence. We are made to be respected, and we are made to be compassionate. There is no doubt that to be dependent, to be respected, to be compassionate, it is what it means to be human, to appreciate in the truly Kantian sense that the individual is an end rather than a means. To an extent, those last few words was what we were seeing under the last government, was that people were mendicants, jackasses, and the barking dogs. They were seen as a means. There was no doubt in my mind during that period under the last government that life was lived in a state of increasing moral confusion and social anarchy. What was therefore needed at that time is what is now returning. The more traditional family values. This new Prime Minister, in my view, has shown his prowess when he initiated and promoted a rather different form of compassion that was from what that was there before. At one time, many were yearning for tolerance, for inclusion, for compassion, which was not forthcoming under the last government. That part of humankind seems to have been forgotten. Oh yes, St. Lucia, without a doubt, has returned to its melancholy ways as one at present does not show contempt for the poor in our midst. Compassion is without a doubt visible. It's at this juncture I'll take my first break and I will be back. Welcome back to Moving Forward. And I must say to you, brothers and sisters, at one time, without a doubt, this Helen of the West seemed to have been driven and governed by the fear that had arisen, so much so, many in the country were on the edge of losing control of their lives. Such a fear, without a doubt, can only lead to the disturbance of our emotional lives. Now, without a doubt, we are giving our lives a sense of cohesion and purpose under Philip Joseph Pierre. Tonight, I'm being somewhat philosophical and even psychological, as our lives under the last government seem to be infected by an epidemic of irritability, an aggression of depression and a paranoia of obsessions, panics, to an extent, an addiction to an extent that relationships were not working, careers that dissatisfy more so in the public service. To an extent, we seem to be living in the future, and a form of reenactment of the past, where slavery and colonialism was the name of the game, to the extent immortal words coming out of a prime minister uttering that colonialism had a conscience. The truth of St. Lucia's ailment lies in the politics of Allen and his cronies during the period of that time, 216 to 221. The society in which we then lived and made so many of us miserable, so much so. This, to my way of thinking, is the salutary truth. There was no doubt in my mind that during the period of the last government, there was somewhat a pervasiveness which was fostered by spurious individualism. Ladies and gentlemen, listening to this program tonight, I want to say to each and every one of you that our moral problem is man's indifference to himself. What was clear to see, even now to an extent, is that we had lost the sense of the significance of uniqueness of us as individuals, so much so that we made ourselves into instruments for purposes outside ourselves and family. Many treated themselves as commodities under the last Prime Minister, and many are finding it difficult because much of their power has become alienated from themselves. They have become things, and our neighbors have become things. The result then was that we felt powerless and despise ourselves for our impotence. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. What we saw under Allen is a form of Trumpianism, where some, because they did not trust their own power and had no faith in man, no faith in themselves or in what their own power can create, they simply lost all conscience in the humanistic sense, and therefore dared not to trust their judgment. They felt like a herd believing that the road they followed must lead to a goal, a sense that they saw so many people in the same road, on the same road. They were simply in the dark and tried to keep up the courage because they heard everybody else whistling, so they did too. They didn't think. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, I want to say this to you tonight, and I say it as if I was lecturing in a class of students, that the cause of humanity is simple. It is the cause of compassion, of justice, and of democracy in its true meaning. It is not something that needs to be legitimated by any science or any ideology. Remember what some great writers have said, and I share with you, that democracy is no longer a kind of politics. Rather, it underpins the politics of humanity, which we were all endowed with by the powers of the One Most High. Of necessity, it secures liberty, it ensures an equality of respect, and it binds compassionate political communities. We have seen that in many parts of the world. In this country, ladies and gentlemen, we are still striving for liberty and equality, for democracy and justice, and above all, we are perhaps, just perhaps, still yearning for a politics of compassion. This is without a doubt, I am sure, the thinking of our present Prime Minister, Philip Joseph Pierre. My fellow ladies and gentlemen, there is something I learned many moons ago, and that is, where there is life, there is hope. Philip gives us that hope. He, no doubt, is doing his best to return us to the good society because it is prosperous, not because of the sum of its wealth, but because it is a natural human expression of human spirit. There's no doubt that we do indeed aspire to justice and to that good society. I speak about it not as from door to the law that we must go through, but the doors of sympathy that we must open once again. We did it once before, ladies and gentlemen. Why can't we do it again? According to Richard Rorty, a liberal society is one whose ideal can be fulfilled by persuasion rather than by force, by freedom rather than by revolution, by the free and open encounters. At present, linguistic and other practices with suggestions of a few practices, but this is to say that an ideal liberate society is one which has no purpose except freedom, no goal except a willingness to see how much encounters go and to abide by their outcome. It is important to point out that a willingness to tolerate others is, of course, the hallmark of any humanism rather than pretending to a delusive sameness. We must strive to appreciate the essential differences that defines humanity. For only in this way can we marry individuality with solidarity. There's no doubt in my mind that the human spirit must be retrieved from the attitude of despair. I once again said to each and every one of you, even the United Records of the Poor, that on the 21st of July, 2021, we all had our nights of Gethsemane because many of us shared a sense of hopelessness. When boundless grief was too heavy to bear, as we await the results of that election, many were somewhat in despair, but I felt as if I had climbed the mountain. Even though I was not in St. Lucia, I was in Taiwan at the time. Gethsemane, and was slowly coming down, feeling and relieved and satisfied that my job was done and the fruits of my labor was within me. Yes, there is no doubt that as I climbed down, that was a boundless grief which was too heavy to bear, but there was this grit and determination to get to the top before coming down. Slowly, in joy and jubilation, that man we call Philip Joseph Pierre had the opposition not crying, but simply yelling. That is, those who lost. And to an extent, when they lost, they were screaming. Ladies and gentlemen, the good Lord got us out of our grief, and he aligned us with justice and compassion on that evening of July 2021. Our ability to dream came to fruition with the demise of the United Records of the Poor. A new humanism came to the fore in those who had the ability to dream, to imagine, as happiness overawed so many on that great night. Therefore, let us render to make this life tolerable under Philip. What the last government forgot, and is still forgetting, is that politics is not simply about getting along in the Hobbesian sense of somehow preventing us from beating each other senseless. Politics is about fundamental human craving to engage with others, to seek affirmation of one's own life through the production of love and compassion. Love is without a doubt a productive form of relatedness to others and to oneself. It implied responsibility, care, respect, and knowledge, and the wish for other persons to grow and develop in this sense. Love is the essence of being human. That is why the Son of the One Most High made it clear that we should love one another as he loved us. That he thought That he thought was essential for human survival. If not, we will without a doubt be in the Hobbesian state of nature, where man is solitary, nasty, brutish, and short. My brothers and sisters, I tell you this, that without a doubt we have an opportunity to learn, to hope once again, to imagine, indeed, to a better St. Lucia under Philip Joseph Pierre. I call on all St. Lucians, whether here or in the diaspora, to give this Prime Minister all the support you can, because he deserves it when we see what he has done in 2 years and 9 months. Now onto something that I thought was simply appalling, when the leader of the opposition, an individual who had allegedly wasted public money in every way possible, now has the affront to say this, and I quote, they found $80 million to repair playing fields. That's the deputy leader for the Cricket World Cup. Yet, you could not find $1 million to buy the boxes for the banana farmers and pay Winera for it so that they can produce it. And when the farmers come and collect the boxes, they will pay for it and you will get the refund. He went on to say quite categorically, is that rocket science? Do we need a consultant to come from overseas to tell this government how to handle a simple situation as not to create a shortage of boxes? This attitude peeved me personally, because this is the same individual as a minister, and in his department had a contractor building a highway in the north, but there was no drain, or there were pipes running underneath. There was no plan. So much so, they had to dig the side road again. Another travesty is the Roseau Dam. Chasney said 1 budget cycle to do it. Ezekiel said 6 years. I wonder if these guys were serious at cabinet meetings. Further to that, Hilaire exposes the dam desilting alleged corruption from the Gazette to cap the cost of the desilting. He said was $60 million. And then said, how can there be a notice in the Gazette? He said that he knows that the budget was for $43 million. He wanted to know how borrowing by a government, which in a sense can be termed mismanagement of the Roseau Dam. The National Utilities Commission had capped the project negotiated with CDB at 40 million EC. There was a problem dealing with contracts and the cost that was taking place during that period. Tendering process was contaminated. What was simply a joke for me was that the contractors that were employed could not do the project. Can you believe that? Yet these are the same people making statements about the incompetence of the present government dealing with the World Cup and pieces of equipment. There was simply no tendering, they said. And in that time, for the desilting of the dam, there was no tendering, as I just mentioned. The dredging company waited for months on end, waiting to do the job before they were brought to do it. This, in essence, was simply gross incompetence. And it's at this juncture I'll take my second break. Wait for what is to come. I promise you. Welcome back to Moving Forward. Or today, as I sit here with you, my brothers and sisters, and in the diaspora, I stand here tonight as I was born a black man. You have been, as far as I'm concerned, led astray to think that you are something other, because your colonial masters had a conscience and looked after you in giving you good health, education, jobs, etc. My brothers and sisters, you have been duped, hoodwinked, bamboozled, and without a doubt, you have been led astray so as to run amok. As I've mentioned before, go and look into the prisons in Great Britain or the United States of America, and for every one white prisoner, you may find 30 blacks to that one. If I thought otherwise, I definitely need someone to wash my sins away for thinking otherwise. Therefore, it would be nice for us to come together to sing the song Amazing Grace. Remember, He is the only one that can wash our sins away if we ask for forgiveness and promise to go back on the straight and unsinful path. None of us are perfect, only the one Most High. Therefore, we are human, and we will make mistakes in our lives. When I look at St. Lucia, in my thoughts, the question that comes to mind as to what would happen if John Compton was alive today to see the party he led to great heights in the Eastern Caribbean and the world. What would he say to the present leadership of the United Wreckers of the Poor? As I speak to you, ladies and gentlemen, there is now unease in that party. It is as if those there are at war within themselves in the way that party is being run, because they simply don't know in what direction to go or to take. They are basically at a loss because this present government is doing so much more than was expected. They're simply baffled and simply don't know how to throw their stones. So they cast aspersions. They lie and concoct stories that simply does not make any sense. They virtually seem to be living on another planet. In essence, when I look at them, the party doesn't seem to have any love for their country, but only to get back into office, to satisfy themselves. They seem to be all about self, and their minions of followers are missing the little backhanders they used to get. They seem to have allowed party politics to overcome them. One can even see this in those who sell in shops or supermarkets, who are supporters of that party. If they think that you are a supporter of Labour, their mannerism towards you is a sight to behold. They have simply lost their self-pride and respect. Honestly, it is so sad how they have allowed party politics to overcome them. This is St. Lucia. It's our St. Lucia. This is sad but true to the extent it grieves me. I keep saying that truth is always on the throne. And if they look or took time to reflect and get that prejudice out of their minds, they will see the truth for what it is. There is no doubt they will then come to the realization that they were without a doubt duped, as I mentioned before. For instance, I met a young man on Tuesday up north, and he ranted and raved about the representative of ancillary canneries, about not being regularly in the constituency, and therefore people are dissatisfied with him. I listened, and then I asked him a simple question. Is there much being done in that constituency? The answer was yes, but You don't see the individual. Do you know how busy he has been, I said, helping to put the magnificent budget together for the betterment of not only Ancillary and Canaries, but for the country as a whole? So now you may very well see him as he will have more free time. Then I asked the fundamental question as to whether he voted in the last election. I wanted to put that down his throat. And behold, what came out of his mouth is that he has never voted. Then he went on further to make it clear to me that he will not vote at the next election. Therefore, I once again asked him a simple question. And he was well dressed, everything. What is your complaint then? I therefore say to many of the younger generation in this country that many of you young men and women seem to have no pride in yourself because you just want everything given to you on a silver platter. And those who represent you in the constituencies support you regardless whether they are sick or they are sick people. They don't realize when there are sick people in the communities who need some help. It's not only you. It seems to be all about them, which depicts the I or me syndrome. In fact, that young man said quite categorically to me that he will willingly take their money, doesn't matter which party, and follow them during the campaigning period, but simply will not vote for any of them. Young men and women like these are without a doubt what we see or have to enjoy in this country. We see the callousness in these young people unseen before. It is like hearing a story of a young man who was helped to the hilt, and he had the ability, and care gave him all the help he needed to get some qualifications in order to achieve something in his life in the area of the work he had chosen. He qualified. However, all that effort that was put in on his behalf came to nothing to him or to the community because he preferred to be a gang member in Vieux Fort. And his parents was well aware of this. What was so sad and appalling was that he happened to have got gunned down and passed away. However, the first thing you hear is that he was a good boy. Tonight I say to you parents of this country, I know that these are your children, your flesh and blood. You have to give them guidance. It is not all about you, but sometimes your experience in life can help them. I know that there are some who simply don't care, and therefore, to an extent, in that case, one must allow life to take its course. I said to the parents that working hard is needed in bringing up your children in the right way, on the right path. When you have done so, you have without a doubt done your best, and God will reward you for that. Parents, we must have faith and trust in the One Most High, but we must never give up. It is frustrating when you are trying your best and they are not. It is sometimes painful, I know. Therefore, I once again plead with you to never give up, because where there is a will, there is a way. Sometimes I continue to ask myself this question: what would people be confronted with compared to the days of Compton, when times were even harder? Yet the Prime Minister then was well respected all over the world. Soon, without a doubt, it will be Philip Joseph Pierre, who will bring back a pride to this country, one that seems to have somehow been flown away with the wind of change that took place in July 2021. When I look back, I must say that Senior Minister King was a damn good Prime Minister too. He was helpful and did his best for the country. He was a damn good worker, regardless what anybody says, and was always prepared to listen. He had a little bit of Sir John in him. We were not in debt, and many worthwhile bills were passed during his time. And also, some useful projects were done. My fondest memory of him right now, even though, he's doing a wonderful job, when he was in charge, was during Hurricane Thomas, where without a doubt, and I have said that before, he excelled. He put things back on course when the country took a severe pounding, one of the worst poundings we've ever had. Yes, he showed resilience and tenacity in the manner he did his work as a leader of the country. He was not perfect, but a damn good leader. And so will Philip Joseph Pierre, our real black prime ministers and leaders. As times, I often wonder as to whether Alan wanted to conquer the minds of the people so that they can be used towards his own ends. Yes, at times I'm simply flabbergasted as to whether he realized that he was a leader of an independent country and not a colonized one. Did he not realize that in this day and age, that if we have our minds, how easily it can be conquered when we are going nowhere, and that the country will continue to slip back into the abyss, one that is completely underdeveloped? I make this point because we are witnessing what it would have been like when looking at what is taking place in Haiti. At times I continue to think that is why I am who I am, because I was simply not prepared to be led on a leash to support something that I thought was wrong when I was offered to be the emissary to Taiwan, as I've mentioned before, during the government-to-government negotiations, when there was also to be an ambassador whose job would be to look after students. Could you believe that? How can that be right? I know that there are some who would grasp at this opportunity, but that was simply not my style. It was probably then I realized that the individual, the past prime minister, was not a leader of a country. I came to the conclusion then, because in my view, he did not have that leadership quality that was necessary. I make this clear to everyone, that this was my thoughts then, and have been proven right. The simple question then and now is, where were we going under Alan, who still seemed to think that somehow we were a colonized island? I bring that up because our health service was in shambles then, because it seems he thought that when our people were sick, the English who colonized us would come to assist us. He did not understand that we wanted an education that is free of knowledge. During his period in office as Prime Minister, it seems like Professor Lumumba of Nigeria was right when he said that we elect thieves or hyenas to take care of goats. I learned something that seemed to me to be thrown at Alan and his band of merry men and women. And I'm sure that this is the way many who supported the party and moved away from it today feels. When trust is broken, sorry means nothing. And they are upset that they were led to or lied to, and many other St. Lucians. Yes, they were upset because from then on, they could not believe that the ex-prime minister or who they had trust in. Because it takes years, ladies and gentlemen, to build trust, which can be broken in seconds, and sometimes it can never be repaired because it becomes one that is broken forever. Therefore, even in the friendships they have had in the party, they now can never trust someone that has let them down more than 2 times. Once, in effect, was a warning. Twice was a lesson. Anything more than that is simply taking advantage. Even today, they are trying to pretend that they are whiter than thou. I want to tell you, fellow St. Lucians, especially the government of the day, to think before you bring pain and suffering to the country, because sorry works when a genuine mistake is made, but not when trust is broken. Therefore, in life, we make mistakes but never break a trust, because forgiving is easy, but forgetting and trusting again is sometimes impossible. By the way the opposition is acting today, it seems as if they truly believe that many of their supporters were mendicants, jackasses, or barking dogs that bray. I want to tell those on the opposition side of the fence that breaking someone's trust, it is like crumbling a perfect piece of paper. Ladies and gentlemen, you can smooth it from what I've been told over, but it can never be the same again. So, ungrateful people complain about the one thing you have not done for them. And you see that right now. Instead of being thankful for the thousands of things you have done for them. A lot of our people, I say it in all sincerity, are fake and are always nice when it is convenient for them. When you are basically kissing their backside, that is all right, during election time, or when they need you. But usually, they have a hidden agenda. You see, day in, day out. Ladies and gentlemen of St. Lucia and in the diaspora, we genuinely have nice people in this country who go out of their way to help others, and they have an honest heart beating within them. I therefore say to you, in all honesty, to stick with the one who never let you down, or those who keep their promises. Philip, the Prime Minister, is one that I know. So is the External Minister, Alva Baptiste. I therefore want also to say to each and every one of you that life is too short to tolerate nonsense. Cut out the negativity and ignore gossip, and let go of the fake people and their drama. And at present, we are seeing a lot of this in the opposition, where we hear lies after lies after lies, to the extent that it is now becoming a deafening sound. I will take my next break at this juncture. Welcome back to Moving Forward. Tonight, before I close, I want to say to the unity government that I'm surprised and dismayed that I'm now reading how secretive you have become in your information medium. The higher echelon of the United Records of the Poor are complaining of you not giving the public the news of what the government is doing in terms of the halls of justice, which was spoken about for years. Here I am being somewhat fictitious because the opposition is somewhat barefaced when every media organization was aware of the sword-turning ceremony and not only seemed to have known the details of what was taking place. I am bringing this to the fore based on the comments the deputy leader of the opposition and the so-called chairman had to say in regards to the halls of justice plans. They are adamant that it was done in secrecy, without the public knowing about it. Yet strangely, I know how much it will cost. So much so for secrecy. The chairman said that you, the media, were excluded, as nothing was circulating in our local media. Yet we know that the NH International Limited are the builders, and the cost to build will be around 143 million EC dollars, and also where it will be situated. We also know how long it will take to build. I find the whole thing amusing. However, your secrecy was so great that I now insist that you answered these questions at the rat bragging opposition that with your bag, of cancan. It seems to be empty. I'm saying this to the United Records of the Poor. Or maybe, just maybe, they missed the sword turning ceremony. The deputy leader even used a song by Morgie, which says that, when will we learn that those guys are not for we? He's talking about the government. Was he talking about himself and his band of merry men and women? My question to him is simply this: has the unity government shown preference, any preferences, or kept anything hidden from the public in terms of the plans they have for the country? Have they thought primarily of their family, friends, and foreigners? Did the public know much about the DSH project? The facts are nothing but the facts in terms of the money that was spent. Did they know of the shenanigans of the Ojo Labs affair? Did they know of the St. Jude inquiry or report? That no one has seen that report, but it cost us nearly $1 million. Did the public know of what was taking place with the road in the north? There were so many questions I would like to ask, but this is not the time and place, because by and large, there is one I would like to go into details about because of my involvement at the embryonic stage. I have the facts in regards to the desilting of the dam. As I have mentioned before, it is I who brought it to light to show the amount of silt that was in that dam when I did a program as director of the Government Information Service, then the director. On my visit in a helicopter to the Pitons, where there was a fire, and saw what the dam looked like in passing in terms of silt. I mentioned some of that before, and also in this program. But in truth and in fact, there is a lot more to bring to the fore. However, time will not permit me tonight to go into the alleged corrupt practices that many are saying took place. I'm intrigued because I would like to know exactly what happened, or whether what was being said is rumor mongering. Well, once again, our time together this Sunday evening is coming to an end, and therefore I want to beg of you, whether in St. Lucia or in the diaspora, to let us rise up tonight with a greater readiness, a greater determination. Let us, brothers and sisters, stand with that greater determination to have at present, a unity government who are doing their best for the country, in which there was so much darkness. But now we see the light. Therefore, let us move on in these powerful days, even though there are challenges to make St. Lucia a better country, not only for ourselves, but for our children and their children. And I tell you this, brothers and sisters, I want to thank God, as always, for allowing me to be here with you all. I have tried to be honest, because by doing so, we are able to confront the truth, however unpleasant and inconvenient the truth may be, as I've said before. I believe sincerely that we must expose and face it if we are to achieve a better quality of life for all St. Lucians. We have to do it, ladies and gentlemen, for the generations to come, to have a decent life, which means good health, education, jobs, etc. So join with me tonight to be, or to have a solemn vow, to do our best for the country that gave us birth. A country that we should be proud of. Therefore I say genuinely and sincerely, to go in peace and to always praise the One Most High, and to never forget that you were born black and should be proud of that. Therefore, go in peace to serve the One Most High. I bid you a pleasant good night, and a good night to all of you. Go in peace, and goodbye and good night.